Hello, everybody, and welcome to Collector Corner, a new show from MinMax. MinMax is a place about games, friends, and getting better. I'm Ben Hansen, but much more importantly, I'm joined by Kelsey Lewin.
Hi, I'm going to be the host of this show, believe it or not, from here on out. But for the first episode, we thought we would kick it off with showing off what I have.
Yeah. Okay, there's a lot that we need to unpack here. This is a new show, and not one of those cheap budget new show plus new shows where we're tossing them out every week. This is a real new show, but heads up, this is going to be a limited series run where Kelsey is going to be hosting this show. It's going to be airing every other week, so you can follow us live on Twitch by following MinMax Show on Twitch. We'd appreciate it. It's going to be airing roughly every other Thursday around 5 p.m. Pacific. There might be some wiggling scheduling based on the guests, but we'll always be sharing those archives on YouTube as well. Kelsey, how would you explain what this show is?
Yeah, so I've been a longtime game collector for a while, and there is nothing more exciting about game collecting than when you get to share it with people.
Yeah.
I think there's kind of no point to it if you never get to talk about it and get excited about it. So I really wanted to have a show where we could kind of share collections from around the community, from around the game industry, and talk about some of the really, really cool stuff that I think there's going to be a lot of stuff, especially in my collection, that you've probably never heard of, and that excites me. And I'm hoping that we have a bunch of other guests who have stuff that I've never heard of, or at least they can teach me something about.
Yeah, for sure. And if you've listened to Kelsey on Video Game History Hour podcast or the MinMax Show, you know that she has a wild depth of knowledge for this stuff. Kelsey, I know this is uncomfortable. Do you want to give your credentials for doing this type of show and explain exactly why this is your exact perfect Venn diagram type of show?
Yeah, I mean, I co-own a couple of retro game stores in Seattle and have for a little over 6 years now. And I am also the co-director of the Video Game History Foundation and a big video game history enthusiast or historian, however you want to phrase it. So I think I've got a pretty good cross-section here of being able to talk about why some things are cool or interesting, much beyond their price tag.
Yeah, and what I'm excited about is for people to show their collections to you. And the way, in one of the meetings we were talking about this, I kind of see it like a Penn and Teller's Fool Us situation where I want you to be stumped by the rarity of some of the items that the community has or other guests have. You have such an encyclopedic knowledge of all this stuff. I'm waiting for those moments where you are I've never even thought about collecting this, but this is so specific. So fingers crossed that we find some good stuff.
Totally. Or even just some cool sub collections I would never think to collect. There's a lot of people who they get every Zelda game, and that's awesome. But I want to see some weird stuff. A friend of mine collects branded ashtrays from arcades in Japan. So little cigarette ashtrays that say Sega on them and stuff. Show me some weird stuff. That's what I'm excited about.
So big things. If you are in the game industry or you just have an amazing collection, you're welcome to reach out to MinMax Show on Twitter, to Kelsey on Twitter, and your handle is
Kelsey Lewin, at Kelsey Lewin.
Awesome. But the big thing is for each episode, other than this one, because this is kind of the premiere, the pilot, the funky one, where we actually show Kelsey's collection compared to everybody else's collection. But for the rest of the episodes, I'm going to be out of this picture. Kelsey's going to be running the show. And then also we're going to highlight somebody from the MinMax community specifically and their gaming collection on each episode. So if you support MinMax on Patreon at any tier, we'll have a post up on this Friday, actually. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can jump in there and find it. And you can leave a comment with what you have in your collection. We'll sort through those, find some good contenders. So if you want to be featured on this show, there is an opportunity for you to do that. You just have to support MinMax on Patreon because there's always a catch, and we apologize for that. All right, Kelsey Lewin, where the hell do we start with your collection? Do you want to just give an overview of what the goal is for what you're going for with your wild collection?
Sure. I have a lot of stuff and a lot of kind of mini goals here. So I'm gonna change the camera here. We're actually gonna start from the beginning. Did the camera change?
Yeah, that's great. Looks
okay,
great.
Cool. So starting from the beginning door here. This is not a huge room. It's a little 10 by 10, which as you can probably see, there's not a ton of room for all of my stuff, and some of it's in that beautiful closet right there. But I have a bunch of just sub collections that I think are going to be really cool to talk about, and then this side is just kind of capital V video games. This is the PlayStation 2 and the DS and, all of that stuff. And then, everyone's favorite system here, the Cougar Boy.
Cougar Boy?
You know all about the Cougar Boy, right?
Kelsey, I host a video game trivia show. What the hell is the Cougar Boy? I've never heard of that in my life.
So this is a console that was made sort of to compete with the Game Boy, never seriously. I mean, it was a lot bigger in places like Brazil and Taiwan and that sort of thing. It's got a real funky design, and this is a basically complete collection of Cougar Boy games. They didn't make a whole lot of games for it, but I bought this entire thing from someone from Brazil. And here's the best cover right here. This is Snake Roy. Everyone should know about Snake Roy.
God bless Snake Roy. Those names
and
are
that's
all
how
good.
We're kicking this off.
Hell yeah. I love it. This is perfect. Okay, I have a really dumb question.
Okay.
Number one, what is that baseball doing down there? What is this jock stuff? This is a nerd show.
I do have a tiny sports throne. I forgot about that. Although this is a Nintendo baseball.
All right.
With me.
It gets a pass.
I'm a big Mets fan, so there's a Mets NL championship ring. Couple, that no one cares about that stuff.
Nah,
That's
I'm
boring.
sure some people do. Dorks are dorks. We get it. It takes all kinds. You mentioned, this is a very basic question, so forgive me, but sub collection. What is your definition of a sub collection?
So, I mean, I think a lot of people, when they look, especially like at YouTube, big YouTube collectors, and they just kind of see this, this is like the standard YouTuber background right here, and there's just walls of games behind them. And I mean, I even see a little wall of games behind you. And that's cool. And these are, for the most part, just games I want to play. But there's a lot of things that I think are more interesting to sort of like, in order to help set good goals for myself, basically, and get excited about things. It's not that exciting to add like, here's another DS game to put on the wall. But what is exciting is, I've added that's the Wondrous One stuff, which we'll get to. But this is all Animal Crossing stuff. So every time I have, find a little piece of merch or something, it's like that gets to go in this specific part and grow this specific part of my collection. And I think that's kind of fun. So
I love it.
I can walk through some of the sub collections because that's really how I think about my collection now. I'm kind of done, unless it's a game that I'm just like, this is what I want to play next.
Right.
I'm kind of done collecting just like a GameCube game or a Wii game. I now kind of think of everything in terms of how they add to other parts of my collection or make those more complete. So I'm going to attempt to name all of the little like sub collections I have going right now.
I love it.
And we can stop and talk about any one of them as we get to them or later.
Yeah.
But this is a 100% complete Wondrous One collection, including an insane amount of other random things. Like I've kind of run out of things to collect for it. So like these are all magazines and guidebooks for the Wondrous One because that's what I have left to do. All these just like random accessories and stuff. So
okay, hang on, Kelsey, hang on. I mean, you mentioned that people collect, but they rarely get a chance to show it off. But people can show off their collections, but they rarely get a chance to like earn the applause that they deserve for this collection. So, ladies and gentlemen watching live on Twitch, please round of applause for full collection of a Wondrous One. She did it. She did it, everybody.
As far as I know, I'm the only person in the US who has a complete Wondrous One collection. Please prove me wrong.
Really?
And if you prove me wrong, I'm going to probably be like, yeah, but do you have that one? And do you have that one? Because those don't count in the full set. So I
okay, people are wondering, what's a Wondrous One?
What is a Wondrous One? That's a fair question.
Yeah.
So the Wondrous One is a console made by, or published, I guess is more accurately to say, by Bandai. It's this little kind of like slightly Game Boy looking device. This was a joint venture between Koto Laboratories and Bandai. Koto Laboratories you've probably never heard of. They actually are still around, but when Gunpei Yokoi, the guy who he did a whole heck of a lot of stuff at Nintendo, but probably most famously the Game Boy or the Virtual Boy, if you want to talk about his failures. He left Nintendo to go start his own company, and this is the little handheld he came up with. He unfortunately passed away before this ever made it to market, but a lot of the sort of like design sensibilities are very similar to kind of what he was doing with the Game Boy. It's a little outdated for its time period in terms of like graphical capabilities and all of that, but it is very, very strong at what it does, just like the Game Boy. So
people are wondering, are there 2 D-pads? What's happening there?
Yeah, so the cool thing about this system, there's not really anything that uses like every single button as a different thing. For the most part, you'll just kind of use like, you know, the bottom buttons, or there are some games that are played like that.
Oh,
so that's the fun gimmick of this system. And to be honest, I think they could have done way more with this. There definitely are games that are played like this, but like, there's only like one vertical shmup. I mean, come on. Yeah. It could have been way more.
Yeah, I always think of the Wondrous One as like, didn't it have some Final Fantasy ports?
It did. And actually, if you've ever played the PSP Final Fantasy ports, and I think the PC ones, they're all built from the ports of this one. So Square this was in Square's like, you know, kind of anti-Nintendo phase. So they partnered pretty strong with Bandai for a while here, releasing stuff for the Wondrous Ones. There's like an Arc the Lad and like
weird.
In fact, this is a really strange accessory I have, which is a holding like a carrying case thing for specifically the Square games on Wondrous One. I realizing I have to do all of this one-handed now. I should have gotten a little little like mount or something.
Yeah, you need like the Bob Dylan harmonica holder, but for your iPhone, exactly. I think. Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So I think this is just color Wondrous One color Square games. Yeah. But yeah, so several of their games came out on the Wondrous One, and they made a whole little accessory just to hold those.
When you how big of an accomplishment is it when you finish off that collection? Do you get to like,
oh my God,
you know, get a nice bottle of wine? What do? You just yell yippee? Like, what is the moment when you realize I've done it?
It was pretty cool. And I think it was especially cool because I did it in a slightly weird order. So, you know, I was down to probably like 10 games towards the end, and I got all of the hardest, you know, rarest games before I got the final one, which, oh my gosh, I can't remember which one it was now.
Just make it up. We'll play along.
Oh, it'll come to me. I tweeted about it at one point, but it was, was it the Atelier game? No, it wasn't that. I can't remember. It'll come to me later. But,
okay.
Yeah, the last one I got was like, I don't know, a 60 or 70. Oh, I remember what it was. I just saw it. It was this one.
What? Long Greaser Millennium.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like the Dreamcast game. Yeah, so that that was like, I don't know, maybe a $50 or $60 game, something like that. So not an insanely expensive game to end on, which was kind of nice. So it just got to be this nice, satisfying, like, plop that in the middle. Yeah, it's like halfway down the alphabet. It was perfect.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite box art for the Wondrous One?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
I mean, spines are fine, but it's exciting to see some of these old Japanese cases.
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, this is probably my favorite box design right here. It's also maybe my favorite game for the Wondrous One, which is Rhyme Rider Kara Recon. It is made by the same people who did like Vib Ribbon, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
PlayStation 1 rhythm game. So
oh, that's
this is
so
I really
good.
like that. Yeah, it's pretty cute, and I'm having trouble doing this with one hand, but but it's a very cute little box.
Yeah, people are wondering on Twitch how often you actually get to play some of these games. Like, when was the last time you just like sat in a beanbag in that room and played a Wondrous One game?
I mean, not in the last month, I guess, but it's not an infrequent thing, especially like some of the puzzle games on this system, or just, you know, something like a Mr. Driller or something I will pick up and play pretty often just because it's so quick and easy to get into. I get people ask me a lot, like, you know, what are the games I should totally get on the Wondrous One, and there's a lot of. Nothing's cheap on this system anymore, really, unfortunately. But there are a lot of just kind of puzzle games like Gunpei. That's kind of the most classic one there. the Mr. Driller port is great. There's a Klonoa, there's a couple Mega Man games. So it's a fairly diverse system. I'm just going to show you some of the really cool stuff.
Yeah, please.
In here, because it might not be obvious to someone who, isn't super familiar with the system. So down here we have 2 versions of the Wondrous One handy sonar. You will start noticing a theme in my collection as we keep going, which is that I really, really love video games that are not video games. Like when people use video game hardware and software to accomplish something that has nothing to do with video games. So this is just a fishing sonar. That is its entire purpose is to like help you fish. And a Wondrous One is a pretty cheap piece of hardware. It's pretty cheap, quote unquote, computer. So to make, in this era when tiny custom computers are still really expensive, there's no Raspberry Pi yet,
Yeah.
This was the solution. So they're identical. One just comes with a Wondrous One, and one assumes you already have a Wondrous One. So,
and you can stop at one. You're like, for this collection, I need both variants.
No, I mean, that's the thing is once you've gotten every game, you start running out of things to add to this. And so it starts getting a little crazy. I mean, I have like, this is just like a bag that's a Digimon drawstring bag for the Wondrous One color.
It's perfect.
I think I literally have a paper bag with a Wondrous One print on it here somewhere, like a disposable paper bag.
What are you doing? Are you is your homepage on Chrome just the word Wondrous One on eBay? Like, I don't understand how you're doing this.
I mean, I'm not checking it quite as often anymore, but I'm mostly just checking Japanese auction sites and sorting by new, It's just see what pops up. And most of the time it's stuff I've seen before or have, but every once in a while you get something kind of weird. These 2 things right here are called the Wonder Witch. This is a consumer dev kit, which I always thought was really, really fascinating thing to do for a system.
Yeah.
So they sold like your own personal dev kit, and you could make your own games. And it comes with a little. I really wish I would have unpacked some of this stuff ahead of time, because we're just going to make a mess on the floor. I hope that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, that's fine. People are encouraging it.
It's my apartment. It's fine. I'll clean it later.
You can set the phone down for a second if you need to as well.
Oh, okay. It's okay. So this right here is like a little cartridge that comes with it that's just blank, and you can flash whatever you want to on it.
That's awesome.
Here's the little how to program on this thing book. I say little, it's pretty thick. And you got the software to do this on your computer, and then of course the the little connectors and everything too. So I actually I can't program at all, but I did have a friend who played around with this, and I did get one kind of working at one point.
Really?
With custom. I mean, it wasn't anything fancy, but just kind of like a hello world kind of thing. So the especially cool thing about this is, I mean, this is awesome. This is great for like if you're just tinkering around and like want to become a game dev someday, want to learn how to do that. But this company that made these dev kits, Qute, Qute, they also ran a competition called the Wonder Witch Grand Prix, where the winner of the competition would get their game published, for real. So this is one of those. This is kind of like a Zelda clone.
Dicing Knight. That's a really good name. It sounds good to say. It is.
Yeah, it's a very good name. And then the other one, where are you? You see it's got the little witch logo on the side there. This is Judgment Silver Sword. This is the really cool vertical shoot 'em up. It's a very good game. I wish I could be like, yeah, just go out and get it, but it's like over $1,000, so maybe don't go out and get it.
That's ridiculous. I feel like there's so much other good stuff on the side just for weird novelties outside of game cases. Are we missing anything on the right-hand side of just other peripherals and that sort of fun nonsense?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So that right there, that's a little CD with the Judgment Silver Sword, like, I think soundtrack and assets, and there's like a little button that all came from the competition. This is just a bunch of accessories. None of that's super exciting. Oh. Down here is something really cool. Actually, we have 2 really cool things. So this right here is a Wondrous One color unit that was given to a journalist for preview. It's got like super low serial number, and it's a little, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool because it was an American journalist that it was given to, which is kind of weird because this never came out in America.
Yeah.
And then this just looks like a normal Wondrous One color box. I'm going to bring this down here for comparison's sake.
Welcome, Raiders, by the way. Easy Allies just sent a raid our way. So welcome, everybody. We're going through this big collection here.
Welcome to the world of Wondrous One right now. This is a prototype unit of the Wondrous One color.
Oh,
so you can see it's a little different. It's like a little flatter.
Yeah.
The screen bezel's a little bit different. And then it's just got, a little, I forget what you call this connection. Whatever that computer connection is out to the computer so that, this is clearly not like a retail unit, but pretty sweet.
People are asking, you're probably going to get a lot of this on the show, so just prepare for this, but people are asking about money. Like, how much do you care about how much your collection is worth? How much do you track? How much numbers are going up and down for individual games you have here? All that fun stuff.
So I think something that everyone should be thinking about with their collection, and I thought about with mine early on, is what is the purpose of this? Like, when you're gone and turned to dust someday, what do you want with this? And for me, I want it to go somewhere where people can appreciate it, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a museum. Not every museum is going to have a use for just a ton of games, but does it go in an archive somewhere? Does it just get passed along to someone else who cares about it? Point is, I'm not selling any of this stuff, but I might give it away someday. So that's so I don't really track the money stuff too much. There's definitely a couple things. They're all Wondrous One, but there's a couple of things that I have spent an embarrassing amount of money on. But when you get to the end and you're so close, it's like that's all that remains is just a couple of really expensive things, and for the sake of completing it. So those things are really cool, and then the we've got a little tabletop kiosk here, which is cool too. Good. But the final thing I want to show, because this is one of the reasons why I like the Wondrous One so much. A lot of times people are like, what is it about this strange, not as good as the Game Boy Japanese system that makes you care about it at all? And for me, I think it's a system where there was a lot of people just kind of playing around and doing weird, interesting stuff with it. So whether that's just, games that play vertically rather than horizontally, or whether it's the fishing sonar, or that they sold a consumer dev kit. I just think there was a lot of really interesting stuff happening on this system, and this is my favorite version of that. Do you know who Toshio Iwai is?
No.
So he is the guy who made Electroplankton.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Along with some other stuff, but he's a multimedia artist in Japan who's fairly well known. He did a couple of art shows in Japan where he actually made software with this, and the Wondrous One, the software he made on the Wondrous One, was the art in the exhibit. So one of those was this little program called Tonori On, which is now a real instrument that Yamaha produces, or used to produce. I am so bad at doing this one-handed. I'm going to set my phone down for a second.
Please do. Give us a chance to catch our nerd breaths, because this is a lot. I love it.
It is. I know. But I don't want to spend an entire hour on the Wondrous One.
No.
So I'm trying to speed through it a tiny bit here.
No, trust me, chat is riveted. This is fantastic. Okay.
So, Tonori On was a little music program that he made an art exhibit with, and he used this Wonder Witch system to do it, and you can flash your own games on those, and so there, when he did those exhibits, there were a bunch of Wondrous One fans who were like, "Can we please buy this? It was really fun. I want to be able to do this at home." I'm gonna see how this is going to work.
One-handed Wondrous One play?
Oh, yeah, if this is going to work well. This is a little music program that is essentially, all you do is it's this little grid right here, and you plot out whatever you want. You can draw whatever you want on it, place the dots wherever, and it just kind of like, they're all different notes, and it just kind of plays a little song that always sounds good, no matter what you do on this.
Huh. It's the drop mix of its day.
Yeah. So, yeah, really hard to do one-handed, but very cool little program that, so he, when people were asking for this, he was just like, okay, I'll make some. He handmade 120 of these, and he sold these at his next art exhibition.
And
so there are,
wow.
yeah, there are 120 of these in the world. This was the hardest thing for me to purchase, just like ever. I mean, it took me years to even find a single one for sale. And when I did, it did not go cheap. But I genuinely think of this kind of like having an actual piece of art. I mean, this was handmade by the artist, and it is the same thing that he showed in an actual art exhibition. So maybe that's dorky, but I don't care.
Yeah, no, of course it's dorky, and it's a good thing. This is a dork-friendly space. People were asking, not to get us off Wondrous One, but what do you think is the rarest thing in your entire collection?
That.
It's that. Okay, but
sorry.
outside of...
Or, I'm sorry, there's one more thing, because we can't get off Wondrous One quite yet.
Okay, sure.
Because that's the other answer to this question. All right, you guys thought all of that was weird. The fishing sonar, all of that. This is called Mama Mite. This is a pregnancy tracking device for the Wondrous One.
No.
So when I say that I really like this system because of how weird it is, this is among the reasons why. This was the other hardest thing to get. This took me about 4 years to find a single copy for sale. I am one of only 3 people I know with a boxed version of this. What? I mean, in like the whole world, there's probably more than that out there, but like these, as you can probably imagine, a pregnancy tracking device for the Wondrous One was not like the hot product of 2002 or whatever. Like it was not, this did not sell well. I don't know how many they sold. I've tried to get that information from Tanita, who I have actually spoken to.
Oh, wow.
They wrote a little article in Japanese on their blog that was like, look at this weird American who bought our weird thing.
That is bizarre. I mean, did the Wondrous
One...
So
here's a little scale.
What?
It works with the Wondrous One. It's like got an infrared connection. I'm just now remembering I don't have the actual Wondrous One in here. I have this in a different place. So I think that's all we're going to see out of the actual box. But
okay, hang on. Dumb question. So it's detecting if you're pregnant by just weighing you?
No. No, it's for tracking your pregnancy, not telling you you're pregnant.
So, I'm confused by these basics. Let's go back to the start.
You basically, as a pregnant woman, you start using this device, and you weigh yourself every day, and the software tracks that. It's got all kinds of like tips for what you should be doing at this stage in your pregnancy. Like, you are 2 months pregnant. Your baby is the size of a yam. I don't know how big a baby is at 2 months, but like, here's some exercises you should be doing. Here's food that would be good for you. And there's a little mini game in there too. So this,
wow.
Yeah, this took forever to find. It is probably the weirdest thing in my collection. It's gotta be, right? Like what could be weirder than this? And I think the system is fascinating. That there's a pregnancy tracker, that there is a fishing sonar, that there's like a piece of art, and there's dev software.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a weird system, and I love it.
It feels like a handheld Dreamcast, kind of some of that spirit, some of that energy.
Yeah, I can see that.
I love it. Okay, well, that's the best of your collection, but what's the rest of your collection? What do you think is your second favorite sub-collection here?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, the obvious one would be the Animal Crossing one. Hopefully some people in chat like Animal Crossing. This is maybe a little bit easier to digest than all of my Wondrous One weirdness, but I've got a lot of fun stuff here. It kind of goes like far back in there because I have completely run out of room, but there's some obvious stuff like the amiibo. I had that amiibo custom made. That's my favorite villager, Midge. And
wait, how'd you get an amiibo custom made? How does that work?
It was just someone who does that on like Etsy.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think if I recall correctly, like the DIY crossing. If I recall correctly, it like scans as her amiibo card too, which is really cool.
Wow.
Like it's got the NFC thing for that. This is all the, or maybe not all the games. This is, no, some of them are down here, but this is cool because my copy of, I don't know if you know this, the Animal Crossing started out as a Nintendo 64 game in Japan. Obviously, we did not get that version, but the GameCube version we got is basically this, but with more stuff. My copy is signed by Hisashi Nogami, and he drew a little Bob on there for me.
That's
so
amazing.
He's the one of the two creators of that original game. So
people are asking about Animal Forest. What is that? What is that exactly?
Oh, that's what it was called in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, Dobutsu no Mori, Animal Forest is what it's called in Japan.
Huh.
So, a lot of this stuff is just kind of promotional stuff. Like that was a Club Nintendo thing. This is probably the coolest promotional thing I had. Well, hang on, let me back up and explain, because you might be wondering, like, okay, there's a Nintendo 64 one. There appear to be two GameCube Japanese ones. They are all of these three. These are all different games. I mean, they're all basically the same game, but they're different.
Weird. Okay.
So, this game comes out in Japan. They make an enhanced version for the GameCube because this game kind of starts selling weirdly well, but it's like the end of the Nintendo 64's life. And, there was a bunch of stuff they had already kind of started working on in there, but like it wasn't going to fit on the cartridge. And so this is like the enhanced version. It's got some things that weren't in the first game, like the museum. The museum wasn't in the first game. And then from this version, Nintendo of America was like, we're going to bring this here. And they make a version of that with some additional things. And that's the GameCube one we got. And then they liked the American editions so much in Japan that they took this game, added even more stuff, and then kept the things like, we added things like lawn flamingos and like just, real American culture things to that one. And then they made this version E+, which works with those e-reader cards, additional features. Anyways, people in Japan bought this game 3 times, which is kind of wild.
That's amazing.
So for the second version of that, if you pre-ordered it specifically at Lawson's, which is kind of like a 7-Eleven, you got this little stationery set. So it's just kind of a rare pre-order bonus.
That's cute. People are wondering if you speak Japanese.
I do not. No, I know very little Japanese. I would like to.
Can you read katakana?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
That's something.
I mean, that's not much more useful than like having Google Translate to point at things, but
yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Wondrous One stuff that I can't really do a whole heck of a lot with. There's a lot of RPGs and just text-heavy stuff on that system that someday.
Yeah, that's amazing. Is there any like Pocket Camp merch? Do you draw the line anywhere for Animal Crossing? Do you have like Amiibo Festival stuff?
I do have Amiibo Festival. I don't know if there is any Pocket Camp stuff. I would totally. Oh, you know what? There might be a guidebook.
That'd be.
So I have a ton of Animal Crossing guidebooks, a ton of Japanese ones, especially because this was Happy Home Designer on the 3DS.
Right.
But like, look at this thing.
That is a Bible. That is ridiculous.
Yeah. For every single villager, they give you like a sample designed house, which is it's really fun to flip through. So I don't think we got this guidebook in the States, so that's why I wanted my Bible.
That's
so the Animal Crossing stuff is pretty cool and probably a little easier to relate to than some of my other sub collections. I mentioned earlier that I really like just strange, like when video games and kind of the real world collide. So I have a lot of stuff that fits that definition. I am going to open the closet real quick. It's super messy. But inside of here are my 2 Game Boy sewing machines.
Yes, 2 of them!
Well, one's an embroidery machine, so, you know, you got to have both.
At some point, do you want to put all this stuff on display? I mean,
I would love to.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm, as you can see, you know, real estate in Seattle's not cheap, so I don't have a ton of room here, but
sure.
I've made it work the best I could.
Can you show off, unless you have a mission here, something you teased on the MinMax show a while ago, but the old Nintendo toy stuff, like the original Gunpei Yokoi stuff?
Yeah, so that's another kind of sub collection of mine, and I'm just realizing I don't know where my love tester is, but this is a newer collecting goal of mine, and it's going to get very expensive very fast. But, you know, I mentioned Gunpei Yokoi earlier, who's kind of the father of like the Wondrous One and the Game Boy and several other things at Nintendo. I like to think of him as just kind of like the founder of a lot of Nintendo's philosophies that they still use today. And he started at Nintendo in the 60s as a like engineer and tech on their machinery. They were still mostly making playing cards and that sort of thing at the time. But he was always kind of a tinkerer, you know, went to school for engineering. And his first product that he made by himself, he consulted on one thing before that, was this thing that you might have seen in like some of the WarioWare games, I think.
Yeah.
And Nintendo pays homage to this every once in a while. This is one of Nintendo's first like really hit toy products, because you know they did fine with playing cards before that, but this is called the Ultra Hand, and this was Gunpei Yokoi's first like project here. That's gonna be really interesting to do with one hand. Well, but it's I mean, everyone's seen one of these little like grabby hand things, right? It's very similar to, you know, we have toys like this in the US too.
Did he invent them, or is this kind of like, it's a basic idea and we're just gonna make the Nintendo version of it?
As far as I know, it hadn't been a toy yet. Like, it was something that, it was a design that, at least according to him, he did have a biography before he died, written about him with, you know, some of his accounts and stuff. It is unfortunately only in Japanese and French. And I Google translated my way through that entire thing. But
how has nobody, by the way, how has nobody just published that in English? That feels like it's sitting right there.
I know. But according to him, it's a thing that he used to just build for his own amusement all the time. Because it's just kind of like, you know, it's just some crisscrossing pieces of wood and some bolts, really, when you get down to it. So, you know, he had built it before and was just kind of tinkering around with it, and was asked to turn it into an actual product that they could sell. So I've got 2 versions of that, 2, like, I mean, they're the same thing, but they've just got different packaging. And so this was his first kind of hit product, and it really, it kind of started shaping the way Nintendo does stuff. So this is incredibly cheap to make. The technology is ancient. It's just like wood and bolts, you know, or plastic and bolts in this case. But, you know, he invented kind of like a fun use for it, a fun arrangement of those materials that hadn't really been thought of yet. And that kind of colors, you know, the rest of his products, gives Nintendo like a competitive advantage on things like price, while not having them be so cutting edge. So another good example of that is this right here. These are called the Lefty RX. They're like little, you know, little toy cars that, what do you call those? Like electric toy cars. There's a word for that.
I don't know what you call them.
Like RC cars? Is
that sounds
the right word? Yeah.
Sure.
So those were becoming popular, but they're kind of expensive. So he managed to cut off like a third of the price by being like, well, you never really need it to turn anything other than left. Like if it's going around a track, it's just always going left. And if you, for some reason, need to go right, you just take a really tight left until you're going right. So he was able to shave off a bunch of the cost on that. And then Nintendo's Lefty RX became like a really popular product because it was cheaper than the other ones. So, you know, that stuff kind of goes into, especially into the Game Boy, where everything else on the market, the Game Gear, the Lynx, all of that are technologically superior in every way, but the Game Boy just does it better. It's just, it's cheap, it's reliable, it doesn't die instantly. Like, we're just going with technology that's been around a while, and it's cheaper, and we can make sure it doesn't die on you.
What is that that Maniac with the gun in the back? That feels very non-Nintendo.
It is Nintendo. Nintendo had a series of light guns before their like duck hunt stuff called the Kosenju SP. I have tried to get several more of these imported because they made like rifles and like all kinds of, you know, targets and stuff for it. And they keep getting caught in customs and being like, you can't import a gun. And I'm like, it's not a gun.
Really?
Yeah. So Chuhai Labs has my guns.
They're just
like, well,
there?
we can't give this to you. I'm like, well, if any of you guys want this, I'll just send it to you.
That's amazing. Tetris. I'm just calling out what I see here. What else is on that shelf?
That's the Tetris board game.
Ooh, excellent. Okay.
This was actually, I think I purchased this to have it in a pop-up museum I did with the Video Game History Foundation, and now it's just sitting on my shelf. This is more of that sort of like video games as not video game purpose things. These are modems for the Nintendo Famicom and Super Famicom. So you could actually connect online with the Famicom to do fun things like banking and stock trading and betting on horse races.
I had no idea.
Not any like playing video games, just just that kind of stuff.
Good old-fashioned horse racing. That's unbelievable. I knew like what the Genesis had like that modem or whatever, but I never knew that about.
No, it goes back pretty far.
Wow.
There's the little software for that. And then on the Super Famicom as well. Just modems for both systems for doing very mundane tasks. It's pretty fascinating, and the controllers for it are really cool too. You can kind of see it in this image here. Like it's kind of like a remote control looking controller.
Yeah, the Wiimote before the Wiimote. On a much lighter note, Banjo92 is asking, are those the Burger King gold Pokemon cards?
They are. They're in a very random spot here, but that was one of those. I have a few things in my collection that are just kind of like, if not from my literal childhood, like if not the exact same ones I had when I was a kid, they were just things that's like, well, I had those as a kid and I would like them again. So that's one of them. I have exactly one thing left from my childhood, and it is this extremely beat up Game Boy Color.
Oh, that's perfect.
It has no battery back anymore. It for a while didn't have sound anymore. I did get that repaired, but that's the one thing remaining from my childhood. I wish I had more.
What happened? There was some explosion that took everything out?
No, my parents were very cool about me having video games, but very strict about like how many consoles at a time I could have. Huh. So if I wanted the GameCube, I had to sell my Nintendo 64, etc. So I sold. In fact, I have most of the Nintendo 64 variants here.
That's so good.
And the one I'm missing is the one I had as a child, which is the gold one from Toys R Us.
Oh my god.
So
that's poetry. Are you kidding? And are you hunting it like it's your Rosebud?
It's just gotten so expensive that I'm like, do I need an 8th Nintendo 64?
I mean, it's the most meaningful one for you. Absolutely.
Yeah, at some point I might actually get rid of all of these because they make a beautiful rainbow and they make me happy, but I think they would make someone who used them even happier. So I've pared down on some stuff. I do have some cool limited edition consoles though. This is probably my favorite.
Oh, I had no idea. That's awesome. Tales of Symphonia, GameCube.
And it came with a matching Game Boy player.
So
there's
excellent.
A seafoam green Game Boy player.
No, I don't want to. Oh, hang on. Yeah, what is this?
Oh, it is a Sakura Wars Dreamcast. That's another kind of sub collection I was doing for a while, is collecting pastel colored consoles. I just thought it was kind of a fun like a fun challenge. So I have a couple of PSPs that came in a nice pastel color. There's this guy. There's this guy.
Oh man, Easter in Kelsey's house is just a hoot. If you want video games around Easter, yeah, not to become your therapist, but do you think there's a connection between your parents being like, you only get one of everything? Be strict here, Kelsey, and now you just exploding and becoming, I don't want to say obsessed, but passionate about collecting?
I assume it has more to do with like, I don't know. Like there was never a time as a kid where it's like, I wish I had every color Nintendo 64.
Right.
This was actually my first sub collection that I completed, was getting all of the fantastic series Nintendo 64s. And, you know, I like console variants a lot. I think they're fun. This is a Japanese PS2 that's like a see-through blue that I really like.
Ooh, that's cool.
But I don't know. Maybe, yeah. You might have something there. Okay. This is actually really cool, and I'm gonna pull it out and wreck this whole display here. Actually, is this my prototype Pink Gorilla plushie? No, it's not. For some reason, the first time they sent us, I had these made for the store. The prototype they sent us had just like these big black nipples, and I've always thought it was very funny, so I've just kept this in my collection.
No, that's not something you design? Like, how does that work? You just ask for a pink gorilla and then they just, Creative Liberty, decide to put big black nipples on it?
I drew, like I sent the logo, obviously, and then I drew what I thought a plushie version would look like in kind of like, 3 or 4 different orientations. And yeah, they saw the nipples and they decided those should be black. So
that's good.
Nothing else on him is. But anyways, we were talking about interesting consoles.
That's right.
This is a very old Nintendo system. It's kind of like a Pong system before Nintendo is making like the Famicom.
What?
Really? Color TV Game 6. Yeah. Everyone was making Pong clones.
This is surprising. I have never seen this.
So this is technically a very, very early special edition console. Maybe the earliest one. I don't know of an earlier example. That text up there, that's a ramen company.
What?
And this was I believe a prize for, like you pull up your ramen cap and see if you're the lucky winner or something like that. So, I mean, that's all it is. That's the only thing that's different. Normally, these just don't have that little sticker with this ramen company. But, that it's a variant of this console. So it is... I don't ever want to be definitive with firsts because there's always something that like technically beats something else, but this is definitely an extremely early limited edition console.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people in the chat are calling out a beautiful aspect of Nintendo now, because so many people are like, oh, this is the thing from Smash, or this is the thing from WarioWare. And it's nice that like with those two series, they've been really... in a way, WarioWare and Smash are like some of the greatest documentary games of all time, just for archiving and kind of surfacing this Nintendo history.
They're Switch icons too. Recently, I don't know if you saw. There's like some of the icons you can download now to have as your little like avatar on your Switch. There was like a Famicom Disk System writer kiosk was one of them, and like the Famicom Basic keyboard, and like just real obscure stuff. And I was like, those are deep cuts. That's
amazing.
I don't know that people know what those are.
Kelsey, I'm realizing the problem with doing this show, and why we'll have to shut it all down immediately is because you did the first episode and no one can top you. Everybody else is just going to be...
No, that's not true.
Really?
I just have weird stuff. I think some people probably collect their own weird stuff. I mean, I was just talking to no official spoilers for guests, but I was just talking to Chris Kohler, and he has a much cooler collection than I do.
Okay.
So, I think there's going to be some really interesting stuff. And I think that there's always something really cool and interesting to highlight about really any collection where someone's got kind of like a goal or a purpose for it. Like, it doesn't have to be anything super crazy. Here's more evidence of my weird like computer, not a video game. This is a blood glucose monitor for the Nintendo DS.
Oh my
a
God.
US version and a Canadian version, because I happened to find both at the same time. So like, well, I can't only get one.
Yeah, here's your retirement goal, Kelsey. Like your retirement goal is you can actually set up like a functioning doctor's office, only using video game peripherals in your apartment.
Yeah, I don't know what we'll use the fishing sonars for, but we'll find a use. There's also a Game Boy one. That's the Game Boy one.
Okay, smart. I think the fishing sonar, that's how you detect the babies, I think. And then you can put them on the whole path. Yeah.
All right. You're onto something here.
Ducks ahoy? What does it say?
This is something Frank Cifaldi, the other co-director of the Video Game History Foundation, got for me. I don't normally collect Commodore 64 games, but this is adorable. I'm not really much of a computer collector, but you will see why this one's incredible when I show you this manual. Oh no, flip. There we go.
Oh my God.
So it's just a really wonderfully illustrated like children's book essentially, but then as you get through, it teaches you how to make duck noises. It does some jokes. Who comes out at night, wears black, it drinks blood, and quacks?
Is it Quackula? Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we got Quackula. Thank you. It's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, here's how you make some duck feet. Who's the most famous duck in Star Wars?
Duck Vader? That'd be so lame.
You're so good at this. You're so good at this.
Super sucks. Okay. All right. That's
anyways,
really
that's
good.
Ducks Ahoy. It's wonderful.
That's perfect.
I'm just gonna clean all of this up later. This is too hard to do. I need an assistant.
Yep, that's right. Okay, one more thing, Kelsey. One more super specific thing to show off. What do you got?
Oh, just anything super specific?
Yeah, your favorite deep cut that we haven't surfaced yet.
I really like, I sort of mentioned this before with the Cougar Boy, but I really like weird old handhelds especially. You might have heard of the Gizmondo.
Yeah.
Up there. That's maybe the most mainstream of the weird ones, but we've got a Game-Mate. We've got a Game Master. These all have their own like cartridges too, by the way. Like we've got some really strange. There's a Supervision cartridge here. Oh, that's also Supervision.
You're making these up, Kelsey. This is
these
nonsense.
Are two different Watara Supervisions. This one I really enjoy. This didn't come out in the States, or like even mentions of it stateside at all, but this is called the Aqua Plus Peace. And it's much like the Wondrous One. Like it had a very thriving like indie dev community. So it's mostly visual novels and that sort of thing on this device, but it was just a very early kind of like, learn how to make games and kind of share them with your friends system. So I think that's super cool. Yeah, there's Game King 2. There's the One Station. I've got all kinds of very strange things. And the Playdate, which is not weird, but I love it.
You got to have it in there. It fits. Kelsey, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for showing off your collection. Good Lord.
Yeah.
The chat is stunned by how cool you are.
This is why, I think this is the most fun part of game collecting is just being able to show off some of this stuff and show people that like video games get so much more interesting than just like being expensive or hard to find. We can go there's my Rule of Rose. Like, I've got some expensive stuff, but that's not, I don't think that's the fun stuff in here. I think the fun stuff is learning about, all of these corners of video game history that I think get kind of overlooked. I'm trying to think if there's like any absolute last minute things I should show. These are my just messy drawers, but do you have a drawer like this?
No,
like
when I left
every
Game
show
Informer,
you've been to,
I threw it all away, or we auctioned off for like Extra Life, which is kind of my cushion of like everything cool. I just auctioned off, so I don't have to keep it.
Okay, we're gonna end with this Pac-Man puppet.
Send it back to hell. Absolutely not. Kelsey, I know
I
you're
should have been narrating this entire thing.
Lord.
This should be...
I don't know how many times I have to tell you that cannot be the mascot of this show. It's absolutely not allowed.
I'm trying to make it frown.
That sucks so hard. All right, Kelsey, thank you so much for showing off your stuff. I'm really excited just to sit back and watch the rest of these episodes. Again, if you are watching this and you want to be on the show or just help support shows like it, you can go to patreon.com/minmax with 2 N's. We want to see your collection. Don't be intimidated by the master here. Again, any sub-collections, and I know what that's all about, are welcome here. So we'd love to hear what you have, and we'll show it off on the show. Kelsey, any last minute pleas for the community for what you want for where the show will go in the future?
Yeah, definitely don't be intimidated or anything like that, because there's so much cool stuff to talk about that I might not be an expert in, that you might know everything about. I mean, even if you're like, well, I just collect Pokemon stuff, it's like, well, but tell me about all the weird Pokemon stuff, and let's show other people all the weird Pokemon stuff that, that they don't know about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to see, send us what you've got, and what, I don't know what the pitch should be. Like, just tell me something interesting about your collection, and I'm sure I'll be intrigued, and I would love to be able to share more of these with you guys.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelsey. Thank you so much, everybody watching live on Twitch. Thank you, everybody watching on YouTube. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, you can always follow us on Twitch. There's links below. We'd appreciate the support there. And you can tune in every other Thursday for a new episode of Kelsey's show. We look forward to the whole thing evolving in the future. All right, Kelsey, I'll let you do your classic sign-off for the show.
A classic sign-off? Bye-bye!
Oh no! If you thought, hey, this video wasn't bad, well, there's a whole lot more like it on MinMax's YouTube channel. Please help us out by subscribing to our channel and checking out the MinMax Show podcast, also available on your favorite podcast app, the best, most thorough discussion about games on the internet with the deepest dive, our monthly community trivia show with prizes called Trivia Tower, and a whole lot more. Thanks so much for your support, everybody. All you gotta do is click that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it.